Hi, Shirley.
Hi, Fiona.
Hi, welcome to the first podcast for Learning and Development Portfolio. It's so great that you are the first person to do this. So, really appreciate that. Thanks ever so much.
Oh, no, you're very welcome. I'm really excited about it.
Cool. So, just to kind of for the listeners, this is a series of podcasts that we are doing as part of the Learning and Development Portfolio. The podcasts are a new way to explore learning and to make learning accessible to all staff. And as I said, Shirley, you are the first. Really excited to have you on board. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
So we're going to talk about resilience today. But before we launch into it, could you just tell listeners a little about yourself?
Yes, no problem. I'm Shirley O'Keefe, as you said, and I'm one of the senior consultants in the NEL Healthcare Consulting team. I have been with the team since last summer, so coming up to a year and a half now. Prior to that, I worked in a large community mental health team. I was the director of the Kent and Medway Community Mental Health team. And prior to that, I lived in Australia. So most of my kind of working background has been in Australia. I am a registered nurse by background and have been working in health for almost 25 years now.
Wow, that's brilliant. Thank you. Um, so as I said, we're here to talk today about resilience. What does resilience mean to you?
I suppose for me, resilience really is a combination of things. It's a combination of awareness, understanding really what's happened to you in the moment and how that's making you feel. And then giving yourself the space to have an appropriate reaction to that situation. And these appropriate reactions can include self-care and compassion, getting the right support and help from other people around you, just slowing things down and taking a break. Or often it can be just giving yourself a good old fashioned talking to. I'm able to do this, I can get through this, I've done it before. And I suppose that kind of talking to shouldn't be mixed up with, or there should be a very clear kind of delineation between that positive kind of reinforcement and that kind of negative voice that we all have, and making sure you kind of can control that negativity that may pop up. But yeah, so resilience for me is really about awareness and being present. And often in very busy lives, we don't understand the amount of stress that we're putting ourselves under or that we are under. And it's about that awareness and giving yourself space to look after yourself properly.
Thank you. So there was a lot in there around kind of appropriate reactions, you said, and slowing things down, particularly as we live in these really sort of busy
Mm.
times. And I guess there's something in there about balance as well. You talked about kind of giving yourself a good talking to, but actually, doing it in a balanced way. But I really loved what you said about sort of space and just allowing yourself time and space to
Yeah.
reflect, I guess.
Mm. I was thinking about this interview during last week, and what came to me was the serenity prayer, which I'm sure a lot of people are aware of, and it's been used with AA and the 12 steps. But that was written originally by a guy called Reinhold Niebuhr, and he was a theologian, and he was in public affairs and politics, and I think he was a professor. I'm not sure what university in, but that serenity prayer is about giving me the serenity to understand the things that I can change and the things that I can't, and understanding the difference. But serenity for me is a really key part. Without that peace and calmness, it's very difficult to understand what's really happening, what your real reactions are, and what you really need to look after yourself.
Yeah, great. And just for the listeners again, who is that prayer from?
So it's called a Serenity Prayer, and the fellow who wrote it is called Reinhold Niebuhr, and I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. It's Neibur. Niebuhur.
Thank you. So you can just Google that if people wanted to know more about that, if they'd not heard of that before.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so can you tell me a little more about your resilience journey? How did you become a resilience trainer, and what qualifications do you have?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I mentioned before, I've been working in healthcare for 25 years, and I've always been interested in resilience. And I've managed quite large teams and a variety of different people, and I've always been interested in what makes people resilient, and also seeing patients and carers go through really difficult things. Just what is it that makes us resilient, and how can we kind of nurture that and be the most resilient that we can. I also have always had a very keen interest in coaching, and I've used a coaching approach, I think, a lot in my management and leadership over the years. And then when I got to England 3.5 years ago, I really wanted to do a coaching course, and I was researching, and I came across this resilience coaching course, and I completed that about 3 years ago. So I'm also registered with the Association for Coaching. But I'm also, after that, I studied hypnotherapy, so I'm also a registered hypnotherapist. And I suppose the reason around resilience is that through my life experience and through my work experience, I've seen, as I said, people being extremely resilient in the most difficult situations. And I do feel as humans that that's our true nature, and that's there inside us. And I feel through that kind of coaching approach that I can help people find what's true to them. And I also think with resilience, it's a very personal thing. Like, we all have our different triggers, we all have our different ways to feel safe and supported, and we all have different needs. So it's very much about an individual approach to resilience and improvement, or that I kind of focus on. Does that answer that question, Fiona?
Yeah, no, it does. I'm really interested in what you said about sort of combining coaching and resilience together. Tell me more about that.
As I said, I think that everybody has the answers around resilience already inside themselves. They know what they need, and as you know, Fiona, being a coach as well, that coaching really helps a person and guides them to find the right answers for themselves, to work through issues, to manage stress, to manage difficult times. We all have that inherent knowledge. We all have that inside us, and I think as a coach, and being a specialist resilience coach, it's really amazing looking at people having those aha moments when they say something themselves and they've answered their own question. I just think it's such a powerful way to help people develop. As I said, just seeing people having these aha moments when they say something themselves is just such a pleasure, and it's a real privilege, actually.
Yeah, that's lovely. Thank you. And I completely understand when you talk about aha moments. It's all about kind of helping people to pretty much come to their own answers, really, isn't it? And facilitating the answers out to people, would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. And asking the right questions, and
Yeah.
listening to understand what they're saying. And I suppose as a coach, the difficult thing is keeping your ideas. There's often times when I see people are stressed, and I think, oh well, if you just did this, or if you changed this. But that's nowhere near as powerful as that kind of coaching approach to guiding somebody to getting the answers that are right for them.
Absolutely. And that's the important bit, isn't it? It's about what's right for them as opposed to what we think may be right for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, why is resilience important?
Um, I think resilience is really important because, as I've mentioned before, I think we all have it. It's what makes us human. We're hardwired to survive. We're hardwired to look after ourselves, and I think helping people understand that we all have that within us is really important for us as individuals, for us in the workplace, for us as good family members, as friends, as parents, whatever we are. I think resilience is really important, and I think having a different approach or a different idea about resilience is important. So it's not just about being tough and getting over hardships without them making an impression on you. It's about really having that kind of awareness of what's going on, and as I said before, looking after yourself through that.
So not just about being tough. I guess that's quite a big myth about resilience, isn't it? That we all need to, dare I say, bounce back all the time.
Yeah.
What are the other sort of big myths about the term resilience, would you say?
Yeah, I think, as you said, that bouncing back is really the biggest one, and that's kind of been projected as this image of resilience. You can take however many knocks and just get back up again and carry on, and that's, I think, actually really quite dangerous, because we're not processing the emotions that have come out of a traumatic event, or and they don't even have to be traumatic events. So was speaking with a group a while ago, and one of the people spoke about having a child, and even though it was quite positive, it was still huge changes, and that she needed some resilience to kind of walk through that. So I think that bouncing back and just being perfect and being on show all the time is just really quite dangerous. The other myths, I think, are just around how the word resilience has been used over and over and over again, and at times it's used in a way to maybe manipulate or to coerce somebody into working longer hours. Not saying that happens in Nell whatsoever, but I have heard of people in my private practice that you need to be resilient. This is what the job takes, and really working 12-hour days or not having a break during the day, that's nothing about resilience. That's unrealistic expectations from your workplace or your manager or whatever it is. So I do think that kind of the word at times can bring up negative connotations for people when it has been used in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. So just thinking about the times we're going through at the minute, and we are going through, unprecedented times, really. Global pandemic, Brexit in a couple of months. Some people are struggling working from home. In some cases, people are going through grief. Lots of people are, unable to see friends and family. So isolation is becoming quite a big thing at the minute. I guess things we once took for granted have been brought into our consciousness, if you like. Life as we know it has changed dramatically, and possibly forever. The way that we view things may have changed forever in some cases. With that backdrop, then, what advice do you have for people in this moment in time to help them cope with this challenging time?
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said, unprecedented times. It really, really is. And I think, we are seeing an increase in stress, in anxiety and depression. And I don't think we know the true extent of that yet. And I think we're going to have a fallout from that for a long time into the future. When I was studying resilience and coaching, I read quite a lot about resilience, and I found it quite confusing to try and articulate what resilience is. So I actually spent some time looking at my own model of resilience, and I came up with the acronym WAVE. And I think it helps me kind of articulate and explain what I feel resilience is, and what I think can help people kind of map out their own kind of resilience plan, as it were. So the W in wave is for wellness, and I use the wheel of life in that. And I know, Fiona, you've done quite a few sessions for the NEL team on the wheel of life, but that's just looking at all of the aspects of your life, so family, finances, career, and I'm sure we'll be able to share an example of the wheel of life with the team, and you have done before. But really having a look at that wheel of life and understanding where you are in each one of those things, and taking some steps to improve, different areas that need some improvement. The A in wave is for awareness, and I've talked a little bit before, just about giving yourself that space to be aware of what's going on. How does this make me feel? What are my unconscious biases that are coming up? What's that automatic negative voice that comes up for me when I go through an experience like this? And just giving yourself that space to be aware. The V in wave is for vision. So I think it's really important for us all to have a long-term plan, be it for our career, for our personal life, whatever it may be. But that often helps us get through the hard times, or not really sweating the small stuff, because you've got a bigger plan in place. You know that this is part of the journey to get to somewhere that you want to get to. It also, having that kind of vision helps you stay focused, helps you know the work that I have to do here is going to bring me to a place that I really would like to be, and I know there's going to be benefits once I reach that place. And then the last letter in wave is E, and that's for energy and motivation. And really that's about managing your stress, knowing what gives you energy and what takes away your energy, and what motivates you, what makes you happy, what keeps you feeling like, this is, life is good. And I think one thing, and I know, talking to friends and family and colleagues, that has been positive through the pandemic for people is around that getting back to basics, getting out in nature. We can't go and see our friends and family, but you can go to a forest or to a park or wherever you can go to that's close to your home or that's accessible to you. And those kind of getting back to basics are often the things that really energize us. I think one of the things in that, sorry, Fiona, in that energy category is certainly around technology and our absolute dependence on technology. And I do think while it's enabled us all to work from home, and has had, so many positive impacts on the world, it really, on an individual basis, does suck that energy from us. And, if we're constantly attached to technology, that can be quite draining and stress inducing.
That's pretty impressive. That's really amazing, Shirley. Thank you. So what I'm hearing is that there's something about, looking at the different parts of your life and your work, your career, your relationships, and really trying to take some time to explore that. There's something in there about awareness, self-awareness, awareness about what's going on around you, being present in the present. But also there's something about looking towards the future. You mentioned, don't sweat the small stuff, having a long-term plan, and that's your vision board. And also what I heard is that, being really clear about sort of where do you get your energy from, what motivates you, and how can you maintain that, but also being really mindful about what drains your energy, and also being clear about not doing that thing, whatever that may be, too often, and whether that might be time on your phone or being, dare I say, around people who drain your energy. So there's a lot in there, but I think that there is definitely something around being mindful of each of those different elements, so the elements of the wave. But I love that metaphor, by the way, because sometimes the waves are calm and sometimes they're very choppy.
Yeah.
So it's a really powerful metaphor. But that's life, isn't it? Sometimes it's very calm and it's very smooth, and sometimes it's very choppy. But using that approach can really help to anchor you.
Yeah, yeah. And thank you for mentioning that, Fiona, because that, the acronym WAVE became more powerful for me because of the changes in, that you can see in the sea, that, at days it's crystal clear and calm and looks beautiful, the sun is shining, and then on other days it can be ferocious and unforgiving and everything in between, and that's life. And I think, this kind of often, I've seen quite a bit of resilience training, and there's kind of one-off training type session, and I think that's, it's unrealistic. Resilience is around this continual awareness, this continual growth, this continual checking in with yourself. And it's an ongoing process rather than just okay, tick, now I'm resilient, let's move on to the next thing.
Absolutely. Thank you. Okay, so bringing it back into the workplace then, I mean, I know all of these things that you're talking about, particularly the WAVE tool, can be used both in and out of work, but thinking specifically about in the workplace, how can we show greater resilience at work, do you think?
I think, having a group of very resilient people does not mean that you'll necessarily have a resilient team. And I think one of the things that can help that is around communication and open communication and honest communication. I think that been having the ability to reflect on things and how it made you feel, and especially if things haven't gone so well. I think our AAR program that Yo and Minnie run is an excellent example of that. And having that space to have open communication and talk about without fear of any sort of negative kind of impact, honestly, about where you've made mistakes, or where things haven't gone too well. I also think in the workplace it's really around us as team members, especially now, showing care and compassion. I think workplaces need to change, that often, and potentially not so much in health, but in other businesses, that workplaces that are really competitive, and that it's very much about money and income, that loses that kind of human element to the workplace. And I think just understanding that people try and bring their best selves to work, and often they could have a huge amount going on at home or in their private lives, and that they're trying to deal with a bit as well. And I think that kind of compassion and compassionate leadership is really important in a workplace being resilient.
Thank you, that's great. So that's pretty much the end of our interview, Shirley. It's been absolutely amazing talking with you. I think that you've shared a huge amount of insight and your wisdom, and really grateful again for you being the first. My final question, if you'd indulge more, please, is if there was one resilience gift, if you like, gift in inverted commas, but if there was one resilience gift you could leave podcast listeners with, one, I don't know, expert tip or a closing remark or a final thought, what would that gift be?
I think, and I might have to take two gifts, but the first one would be listening, and listening to understand both yourself, and really listening. And I don't think a lot of us take that time out to go inwards and sit with ourselves and understand where we're feeling, and what we're feeling, and what's going on for us. Listening to our colleagues and to the people around us, and listening again to understand and not to necessarily respond. And the second one would be around gratitude. I think, trying to focus on what we can be grateful for is really, really quite powerful. It can really kind of change the way your negative thinking pops up too frequently. If you practice gratitude on a daily basis, or as much as you can, it can really, really change how you kind of see the world, and change it to a more positive place to be. And I'm going to really cheat and give a third one, is turn off your computers. We're not built as human beings to understand and know what's going on in the world. Our kind of our human hardwiring is around keeping ourselves and our immediate people around us safe. So that continual bombardment of information from internationally, which is often quite negative, can have a huge impact on us. And again, we're not necessarily aware of the impact that it's having as we're reading our Facebook page or the newspaper or whatever we're reading online. So I suppose in summary, gratitude, listening, and looking after ourselves.
Brilliant. Thank you, Shirley. It's been such a fascinating and interesting conversation. I appreciate your time today.
Thanks so much for having me, Fiona.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.